Amid continuous shelling in the South Ossetian capital Zimbabwe, all hospitals are reported to have been destroyed. The city is lying in ruins. More than 30,000 refugees have arrived in Russia's southern regions as people try to flee the war zone. South Ossetian officials say the number of dead has reached 2,000. Prime Minister Vladimir Putin has called the situation in South Ossetia genocide against the Ossetian people. He's in the region overseeing aid for victims of the conflict. It's 10 p.m. here in the Russian capital. You're watching RT live from Moscow with me, Alice Hibbert. Our top story now. The chief of Russian ground forces claims Georgian military action in Zimbabwe has destroyed all hospitals, killing many children. He also says the South Ossetian capital is almost completely destroyed and without water or electricity. More than 10 border villages have reportedly been burned to the ground. While Russia's Prime Minister Vladimir Putin says the government is planning to allocate around $400 million for the reconstruction of South Ossetia. According to Russia's ambassador to Georgia, the death toll in the unrecognized republic has reached at least 2,000. There are claims that Georgian special forces have been throwing grenades into basements where women and children are sheltering. Well, the Russian ambassador to Georgia says 13 Russian peacekeepers have been killed and 70 wounded during Georgia's attacks. More than 30,000 refugees have arrived in Russia's southern regions as people try to flee the conflict zone. Meanwhile, Georgian soldiers are reportedly trying to take control of a road leading from Zimbabwe to the Russian Republic of North Ossetia. Well, Georgian infantry have once again entered the breakaway republic's capital, Zimbabwe. These are the latest pictures of tanks in the city. South Ossetian forces have opened fire in retaliation. Heavy fighting is reportedly still going on in the capital. And earlier, Georgian helicopters fired on Zimbabwe, hitting residential districts. The Republic's Information Committee says all types of weaponry are in use, including mortars, tanks and rocket launchers. Officials on the ground say there's no sign of a ceasefire. Well, Russian military officials say 76 Airborne Brigade of the Russian army has arrived in the conflict region. One section of the brigade has already flown into the South Ossetian capital, Zimbabwe. Other troops will move to the region by ground transport. The main goal of the reinforcements is to restore peace and protect the Russian people. Many people remain under the rubble of their homes in the South Ossetian capital, Zimbabwe. Among them is Paisia Sitnik, who's trapped in her basement with her dead son's body. Well, RT's managed to speak to her on the phone. She says the area all around is being shelled and people are desperate.
The planes are bombing us. I'm sitting here in the basement. Fire is raging above us. Let somebody come and help us. Where are the peacekeepers? I'm sitting here together with other people. My son has been killed. Why nobody comes to save us? We've got people sitting here.
Well, earlier, Paisia managed to make contact with two of her friends. They fled from Zimbabwe and say they're very concerned about the trapped woman's fate.
I'm now in Moscow. My niece called me. A woman managed to contact her from her basement. She doesn't know who to call for help. She remains trapped in shock in her basement with her dead son, aged 20. She does not know what to do, how to get out. She called and asked for help.
I'm now in Vladikavkaz, in North Ossetia. The woman trapped in the basement was able to call some of her friends. She said she's sitting there next to her dead son, and nobody can help get her out. She's shocked. She's crying. She wants to get out and bury her son.
Well, Komsomolskaya Pravda, the Russian newspaper's correspondent, has been wounded by Georgian troops in Zimbabwe, and RIA Novosti, the news agency, hasn't been able to contact its photographer for 2 days now. Journalists trapped in South Ossetia have asked the international community for help.
We, 50 journalists and more than 200 women, children and elderly people, are not in a safe refuge. In fact, we're in the position of hostages as we cannot leave the town because of constant shooting. We call for the international community, world leaders and diplomats to arrange a corridor to evacuate us under the guarantee of heads of state and international organisations.
Russia's Prime Minister Vladimir Putin has flown to the capital of Russia's Republic of North Ossetia to discuss ways of helping refugees from South Ossetia. RT's Leah Ferguson brings us details from Vladikavkaz.
Prime Minister Vladimir Putin here in Vladikavkaz. He's cut short his trip to Beijing to come here to hold an emergency meeting with officials to discuss the situation with the refugees and what to do next. He's due to visit some hospitals, possibly some refugee camps, to see